Greetings, welcome back to my channel. I have an interesting story to share with my subscribers coming to you from the United States. Recently, I saw some articles speaking about the United States offering asylum to white South Africans. I didn't realize that this was a plan that they were going to undertake so quickly. But here in this story, dozens of white South Africans arrive in U.S. under Trump refugee plan. A group of 59 white South Africans has arrived in the U.S. where they are to be granted refugee status. President Donald Trump has said the refugee applications for the country's Afrikaner minority had been expedited as they were victims of racial discrimination. The South African government said the group were not suffering any such persecution that would merit refugee status. The Trump administration has halted all other refugee admissions, including for applicants from war zones. Human Rights Watch described the move as a cruel racial twist, saying that thousands of people, many black and Afghan refugees, had been denied refuge in the U.S. As a matter of fact, many Trump supporters who are from Mexico have had their spouses basically deported. They were detained by ICE and deported back to Mexico and separated from their family. So it's strange that Trump would expedite applications for the white Afrikaners. In this video, I want to dispel the myth of the racial discrimination that Donald Trump has described in South Africa. What's really taking place is that the African political revolution has finally arrived at the stage where persons are seeking to right historical wrongs. And what has happened as a result of apartheid, white Afrikaners have hoarded all of the farmland, many of the ancestral lands that were owned by the black South Africans prior to their arrival. And recently, calls from persons like Julius Malema of the Economic Freedom Fighters, calls from persons like Cyril Ramaphosa of the African National Congress have initiated a process of land reform. And they are basically asking for this land, not asking, they are actually taking this land that was erroneously hoarded by the Afrikaners and putting it back into the hands of the people, right? So there was a particular mantra a few years ago called expropriation without compensation. So the land is being appropriated by the state and taken away from individuals who would have basically taken this land during apartheid, right? And so I don't believe that this can be characterized as racial discrimination. The racial discrimination was actually carried out by these individuals and their ancestors. Their ancestors actually put in place a system of racial discrimination. And what's so strange, Trump would have us believe that the racial discrimination just arrived out of nowhere. But there was actually a point in time when South Africa could not participate in the Olympics. South Africa was actually under heavy sanctions from the United States in 1986. They had an anti-apartheid bill, and it basically placed sanctions on South Africa. And so America and all countries around the world have deemed the Afrikaner regime and their citizenry as being racists, as being elitists who are carrying out a system of racial discrimination. Right? So I think it's strange that now Donald Trump has decided to take this approach. And as I said in my previous video, I believe this is because Elon Musk now has the air of the President of the United States. We all can see that ever since Elon Musk arrived in Washington, America has taken a very radical approach to Africa, particularly South Africa. As I said in the previous video, they actually carried out a bombing in a site that they claimed was held by rebels, right, inside South African territory. They also have cut off aid to South Africa at one point, and now they are making this ridiculous move to take the descendants of apartheid orchestrators in as refugees under this false notion of racial discrimination. Right? So, in my opinion, Elon Musk has precipitated a lot of this, and I think he's behind this move to bring those white South African citizens into America. Right? Even though he walks around with a MAGA hat 24/7, even though sometimes he wears two MAGA hats um, at various press briefings and important governmental functions. This man is a white South African. He is actually an Afrikaner, a very wealthy Afrikaner, but he is not actually an American by birth, right? And so, family, I just wanted to highlight this particular fact. America has taken the wrong side of history in this regard and is now welcoming in white South Africans and deporting anyone who is darker than them. So that would be the brown individuals who we call the Mexicans. That would be the African persons from the Caribbean and from the continent of Africa. They're all being expelled. So it seems like a deliberate attempt to whitewash America. It seems like a deliberate attempt to cater to white individuals in particular. And I think that's not going to be very productive for Americans and their interaction with other nations, and it only takes a few years of this kind of reality for the next generation to actually accept this as the norm. So I think we need to really take steps to sensitize the public about what is taking place. And, we shouldn't allow them to portray African leaders as being racially insensitive.